Absolute Carnage. This is the variant cover. I only get the variant covers to flex on the internet in my very nerdy way, so consider yourself flexed on. This had me thinking about Malekith. I wonder if the plan maybe was for Malekith to die in War of Realms, and this was the way that they would resurrect him, because anybody with that codex of a symbiote is appearing in either this or the tie-in issues, which I'll get to. The tie-in issues. Now, Malekith didn't actually die in War of Realms. I'm sure you all read it because that was the last big event. He's kind of like in this purgatory where he's experiencing happiness, something weird like that. But my mind wanders. No, it does continue off where Spider-Man and Venom were trapped in that jail. They finally got out. Venom spawns his wings. First time I've ever seen the Venom wings in a comic book. But he's got wings and he can fly. That doesn't bug me at all. We get to a kind of major big splash where you see all the tie-ins are being represented. And since I had Miles Morales, I read that one right at this point. And it says, I think in page 5, I'll show you on the screen, that it's don't read this comic book until you read number 2 of Absolute Carnage. I kept on reading though. It's not until page 10 where I actually saw the symbiotes show up. And then I jumped back here to exactly this page. And we saw Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man fighting off all these people. I'll just tell you now, because I did read that comic book when I was finished reading this, and I wish I would have kept reading until around page 17 maybe, because that's where we get the perspective of Miles of what happened in this comic book. That is a fucking tie-in, okay? That's how you do that shit. I don't know if all the other ones are like that. Probably not, because I didn't see any other characters featured in the main Absolute Carnage. But however they managed to fit that in, I love it. If this was only a 4-issue arc and they stretched it out to 5 issues to include shit like this to make the tie-ins more relevant, this may be a practice that needs to be repeated. So far, after the bad taste that War of Realms left in my mouth with tie-ins, so far I have a positive perspective on these tie-ins. There's not even as much. There's a page here that I'm looking for that'll show me a list of tie-ins. There's not as many as it was for War of Realms. It was Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. This one is much more easier. And some of them are just number 1, right? And no number 2 or 3. They're not part 5 of a mini series happening in this series. It's just, we're gonna see what the Hulk is up to and how he's dealing with it. It'll take about 20 pages. Just pay us one time, we got you covered. And if you're not an Immortal Hulk fan, whatever. Al Ewing, the writer of Immortal Hulk, is writing the tie-in for the Immortal Hulk's Absolute Carnage. That is the symmetrical. I'm trying to use big words and it's not working. Darn it. That's the symmetry, I think, is what I'm going for, that I require in my comic books. And even though I'm praising it, this is something that should have always been. Sometimes writers, fucking this guy over here, Donny Cates, he just called it, he took a break during the Venom tie-in for War of Realms. He got Cullen Bunn to write that for him. And same with Dan Slott. Dan Slott is a fucking genius in his own right, and he got Gail Simone to do the Iron Man tie-ins. And then he's like, yeah, call me back when I'm writing shit that matters. I feel like the tie-ins for those two were, for Iron Man, was just like, what the fuck. I did not read Venom's tie-in for War of Realms, but I did read someone like Captain Marvel. Oh, Kelly Thompson wrote that too. And in the 2 issues since Captain Marvel's War of Realms tie-ins, nothing that happened in those tie-ins affect the Captain Marvel. So it really just feels like we got to make money on this. We got to do our tie-ins. I'm not, enlightening on anybody on something that they already don't know. We're in this together. We know it's been like that with Marvel for a long time. Some of you longer than I have been reading comic books for, which is only 2018. Like, I just got the app when that Black Panther movie came out. I was like, what? I need to read Black Panther right now. I went to like the 40s or the 60s, Fantastic Four issue number 52, I think it is. And I read that and I'm like, okay, well, the artwork stinks. I'm going to have to move more modern. So I went to where Christopher Priest was, and I thought the artwork stunk in my subjective opinion. And so I had to move to 2005. And so like everything from 2005 to present in Marvel, I actually know pretty decently. Thankfully, there's a lot of guys on YouTube who help me out. Probably help you guys out too. I'm sure if you're on YouTube right now watching Chillmonger, I know you know about those dudes. Oh, I can name them: Comics Explained and Comic Storian and Comic Pop. Comic Book University, who's just down the road in Mississauga. We got, well, those are like the four big guys that I like. Blurred Without Fear, Ernie. That man is the man. And Dope Spill Comics. See, I thought of one black guy, I thought of the other. And who are the other ones? You guys know, man. It's a huge community. Comic Uno, Robbie Rants, everybody. I love all of them, right? I don't think there's any. Well, there's nobody that I hate. I respect the comicsgate opinions, and I'm growing as a person where I can actually tolerate what someone has to say. I see it for what it is. Where if the base and the foundation of your channel is anti fucking anything that's not a straight white male, if that is what most of your content is about, I can figure it out. I'm like, okay, this is probably someone who I'm not with. But they will usually use legitimate arguments and reasons for not liking their comic, for the comic. And they'll shit on it for legitimate reasons. Sometimes it feels like with Marvel, I'm talking about Absolute Carnage and I just went on a rant, but we'll continue this rant. Sometimes it feels like it's not okay to be a straight white male. 2016, you got Iron Man replaced and the Hulk wasn't Bruce Banner. Captain America wasn't Steve Rogers. He's like anybody who was white Thor. Jane Foster's a woman, but still, it's like just not white male. And I can see the Marvel definitely provided the reason for the frustration because they did it all at once. Robbie Reyes replacing the Ghost Rider. Sam Alexander's got some Latino in him. I understand the comicsgate frustrations. I don't sympathize with it, but I understand it. Back to Absolute Carnage. There is Miles Morales gets symbioted. Welcome to 616, Miles. You are part of this whack, Spider-Man story. You are a Spider-Man, therefore you must inherit everything Peter Parker goes through. He literally has Peter Parker's villains, Scorpion. He literally has Peter Parker's city, except he resides in Brooklyn. Still, it feels like this is the intention. They're giving him Peter Parker stuff that people were reading back in the 60s and 70s, but they're giving it to him now, and it's the modern take on it. I was okay with that, with the idea of that in the Ultimate Universe happening over there, but when you bring it over to 616, I'm kind of like not for it. And I don't hate Miles Morales. I'm right there with him. I'm just like spectating and watching him. He had a good movie. That's how I feel about Miles. You won't see any Miles love from here. To quote young Ripa 59, any tokenized character. I said to quote him, but I can't fully finish that quote. I don't remember how it goes. But he just doesn't like tokenized characters. Yeah, I'm with you. She-Hulk. She doesn't do it for me. Who else is here? See, all the main Avengers right now, they're all like the original incarnations. Cap, Thor, Black Panther, Blade, Iron Man, Captain. Technically not Captain Marvel. She's like 2 Captain Marvels in. But nonetheless, Absolute Carnage was a hitter of a book. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I have higher standards for events. So maybe if this was just a regular book, I would say more than 7. But I do think it was damn fine. And reading the tie-ins of what's happening with Miles enhanced this. And so the event is doing a good job. Thumbs up on the event. If you like this video, thumbs up on the video.